Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast on a mission to change the way the world eats. My name is Shurina, and I'm a certified nutritionist, health, nutrition, brain performance coach, and just someone with a lot of passion for helping you guys to learn how to use nutrition and lifestyle and all the tools, changes in our behavior and environment to feel and look and do your absolute best. Guys, yesterday we talked about motivation, specifically about motivating other people. So if you are struggling as a founder, as a leader, as a team manager, or maybe just a mother or father, or maybe a son or daughter to motivate your parents, if you are struggling with motivating others and you'd like others to do better for themselves, then check back to that episode that we did yesterday. There was a really great exercise and a shift in mindset and of course in behavior that we need to do to get better at motivating others. So check back to that episode yesterday and start asking better questions. Today, guys, we are talking, as you probably already guessed from the title of this podcast, we are talking about fresh mornings and how to wake up as fresh as a proverbial daisy every morning, or as often as possible, to maximize that morning productive time instead of just spending hours sometimes trying to get into that zone, barely able to do anything. It is an issue, especially for people who are, who consider themselves to be more of night owls or late night people. But guys, I'd like you to consider the fact that before the Industrial Revolution and electrical light and electricity being available everywhere, before our society, our world got so much more brightly lit, we used to have statistically, they say many less night owls. And it has to do with the light effect on our biology, on our circadian rhythm, or our 24-hour clock that runs in our brain and all the cells of our body and is governed by predominantly by two factors, actually. Light is the biggest, the strongest one, the intensity, the source, the timing of that light exposure, and then also food and different substances we consume during the day. So before Industrial Revolution, we used to have less night owls because there was no light, and what else you gonna do, right? So how would you even stay awake if there was no light, right? So there were some people, but there were a lot less. And all it tells us is that our circadian biology, our habit, or our, not so much habit, but our state in the morning and at night, and whether we consider ourselves morning and night people, a lot of it actually has to do with how we design our environment, our behavior in certain areas, and our habits. So let's get talking more about this practical aspect of modifying our environment and our behavior in order to, first of all, wake up feeling much fresher every morning or almost every morning. And the second, if you feel like you are a night owl, but you need to wake up early, maybe you work, your kids, your university, college, school, whatever that might be, if you feel like you need to be at your best as early as possible in the morning, that this podcast episode is for you. And there are just a few simple changes that you need to do to get fresher every morning, fall asleep better, and become more of a morning person. Again, especially if your life depends on it, if your life demands it and there is little you can do. So if you've been considering yourself a night owl, it might not be the case. Yeah, they say, some of it is genetic, and if you did genetic test and it does show that you are a night owl, then maybe it's going to be a little bit more challenging. But what studies show, when you adjust your environment and behavior across the board, you'll start waking up earlier, naturally, feeling better, more upbeat, and more productive. So no matter where you land on genetic landscape, you're still gonna do much better with just a few adjustments. And let's get to these adjustments. Guys, there was a study, and the article about this study and the study source, it's linked in the show notes. So check it out if you want to read more, if you want to go through the scientific papers. But they did studies where they took a bunch of people and especially people who identified themselves as night owls, and they helped them, they made them modify their behavior in a few areas. And after, I believe it's 2-week study or 4-week study, somewhere in that time frame, in that time, people reported waking up earlier, waking up feeling better, more productive, and not instead of struggling with it. So what they did in the study, they told the participants to, number one, as soon as you wake up and as soon as sun is out, preferably, it kind of coincides your waking up time and the sunrise. So as soon as you wake up, you need to get outside, expose yourself to natural light. And natural light, not artificial, guys. Natural light outside, it's not comparable to anything that we have available. So you need to get outside on bright day, 5-10 minutes, on a more cloudy day, probably closer to 20 minutes, and it's really, really gloomy, then probably closer to 30 minutes. So as soon as you wake up, get outside, take yourself for a walk, take your dog for a walk, take your kids to school, whatever it is, whatever coincides with that sunrise and waking time. So what they did, they made the participants wake up and get outside and expose themselves to light. That's number one. Number two, after 3 p.m. and the going to bed time for this group of people was like for average person, 10, maybe 11, but around 10 p.m. usually. That was this designated sleep time, right? So after 3 p.m. for these people, they did not allow any caffeinated drinks, substances, energy drinks, etc., right? That was an important part of the study. So no caffeine after 3 p.m. After 7 p.m., they instructed participants to not have any food because food is the second to light stimulus or signal that tells our brain that it is an active part of our day and we need to stay active and metabolically active, digesting food, absorbing nutrients, staying active, right? So no food after 7 p.m., basically 3 hours before bed. And also no bright light after 7 p.m. Dim your light, don't look at your devices, especially 1 hour before bed, but no blue light, no bright light 3 hours before bed. And they made participants do that consistently for a period, again, somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks. You can look up this study following the link in the show notes. And after this period, participants reported feeling more awake, more alert, more productive, also happier, and not that, depressed or stressed as they usually would in the morning when they had to get up early. So participants reported across the board all these positive effects. So just a few simple things, guys. Although a lot of people, from my experience, from my practice with clients, find it challenging to not expose themselves to a lot of bright light in the evening because sometimes they go out for dinner, sometimes they go out to cinemas or to some events. So my advice here is to minimize those things that will screw up your sleep and waking up schedule. Number two, if you go to a restaurant, choose a restaurant that has dim lights at night. But then again, if you eat too late, that also was a part of the study. That's not ideal. So try to get your dinners before 7 p.m. If you go to an event or if you go to movies, avoid snacks and then avoid alcohol. That also, by the way, screws up your sleep patterns. And use blue blue light blocking glasses. They kind of became a common practice, so nobody really gonna look at you like you're weird. Not a lot of people wear them at night, but then again, not a lot of people are very well educated or dedicated to their health routine and their sleep. So be the one who sets the example. I would use them. I just not a night person. I don't go out late at night. I don't do much at night at all, except for reading books, studying in a dim environment. So that's the troubleshooting for the nighttime. Also make sure that your room, your space, it's very, you have dim lights, low lights, those night lights that are very dim, or candlelight, even better. And do that for, I'm sure, even if you do it for just 3-4 days, probably even if you do it the first day, you're gonna see results immediately. So consistency matters, guys. If you do it a couple of days or every other day, it's not as powerful as if you do it every day, because ultimately your genes are quite flexible, meaning we all have our genes that don't change, but how they are expressed in real life, that all depends on the environment, and that all makes sense. Our biology, the way we are created, our evolution, it wanted us to be as adaptable to the environment as possible, so we have more chances to survive. So your genes a lot of times would adapt to consistent is very important environment stimulus. So design your light first thing in the morning, get outside for as long or as short as possible, getting your coffee, getting yourself for a walk, going to the gym, going to work. After 3 p.m., no caffeine, 3 hours before bed, no alcohol, no food, no bright light. And do that for a couple of weeks. But again, even after a couple of days, you're going to start seeing the difference. And see how every morning you're going to start waking up fresher and fresher and fresher. And who knows, maybe in a couple of weeks, you'll even consider yourself a morning person. Plus, guys, if you never did the testing and you don't really know, chances are you might not be a night owl at all. It's all about your bright light and too late food, too late dinners at night, and stimulants later in the day that might be affecting your sleep-awake cycle. Right, so experiment, and I'd love to hear from you. If you do that for a week consistently and a lot of things change for you, I'd love to hear about that. Like, I have no doubt it works, because it works on me, it works on so many people I worked with, and anyone I tell about that. It just, a lot of people find it challenging to adopt certain habits on a regular basis. But then again, changing your habits has always been challenging. But if your morning productivity, your sleep quality is something that's important to you, that affects the quality of your work and your life also, how your life feels every day, then it's probably something that you want to try and you want to wrap your life around. Try it. Let me know how you do. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends, with your family, so they to know how to adjust their productivity, their freshness and wakefulness in the morning, so they too know how to change and tweak their morning or night type. So share this episode maybe with your team also. If you are a founder, a lot of people, believe me, are struggling with sleep and waking routines and productivity. So share this. Let me know how the experiment goes for you. And till next time, as usual, eat better daily.